Hello all, happy Sunday. I hope you all had a great week, a great holiday week. This was a short week, and it was a low volume week because a lot of people were traveling. So we should pick back up next week. Next week we have a lot of feds, y'all. Feds outside. Not starting until Tuesday, as far as the feds, but we do have data as well next week. So we have a lot of data, and then we have a lot of Fed speaking. So see here, you got consumer confidence, another Fed speech on Tuesday. Wednesday, these aren't really big data points, but things we want to be aware of. The mortgage applications, GDP growth rate, retail inventories, core PCE prices, and then of course we always have crude oil, but that's for Wednesday. And then there are a couple of speeches. Thursday we have our regular data with job numbers, I believe. I don't think there's anything else on Thursday. Oh, PCE price index. So I'm not sure if that'll do anything. A couple more Fed speeches, and then Chicago PMI. Again, not sure how much that will do, but with things we want to be aware of. And then Friday, no big data points. Well, we have this ISM manufacturing PMI. If that'll do anything, but then Powell speaks at 12 o'clock. I have no idea what he's going to talk about. I may figure that out early, well, as the week goes on. But as of now, we just like to make sure we know about what's going on and what could possibly affect the markets. So, alrighty. I am back with the 4 screens because I took advantage of the TradingView Black Friday sale and I upgraded. I love me some TradingView, so I definitely wanted to get the upgrade where I could do this with you guys and have as many screens as I want. What if I should do? I think I am going to do the 3 one. Because I only really need the 2-week one when we have a new 2-week. Like, I don't have to do that all the time. The only thing I don't like about it being squished like this is I feel like you can't see as much. Like, you can't see going back, that type of thing. Like, you have to really squish it to really, really see what's going on. Alright, so we'll work that out. We'll figure that out and come back to it. But now, let's get started. So, look at the VIX, you guys. First of all, here's one thing I did want to notice, or I wanted to point out, is that we did the outside quarter. Okay, so remember what happens with outside bars. I should not be yawning, but it is early. Outside bars are new broadening formations. I mean, basically, we hit the top of this one, and now we are coming to the bottom. We are not quite at the bottom. Just want y'all to see that. Bottom of that would be about $12 even, okay? However, just know that this is a new broadening formation. So, VIX is almost at exhaustion. So, I am expecting that we may push a little bit more before we have some type of correction. Before we have an end-of-year rally, if we do have an end-of-year rally. But the VIX is getting really low here. It's taken out this fleet right here at 1271. It bounced from there 3 times, and then now it just went through. So looking to still see it go to about $12, and then see some type of correction from there. There I go again. Also want you guys to notice, I'm going to take this back to the monthly. On the week, I believe this is a PMG. 1, 2, 3, 4. It is. So, not to say that we would have an aggressive move up. I mean, that would mean we would have a really red market. Just things we are going to be aware of, okay? So, if anything, we may even correct up here on the daily to one of the EMAs because, we haven't tested these EMAs since back here. So, that's what I'll be looking for. I'll be looking for us to hit this 12, and that's will be our exhaustion point, and we should have some type of correction there. All right, looking at gold. I mean, first of all, let's start over here on the month. Still inside month, but nice hammer. And one thing I want y'all to know, remember, is that we have 4 days of month left, 4 trading days, and then we start a new month on Friday. Friday, yep, that's December 1st. So when we come back next week, we will be looking at new monthly plays. So it would be absolutely wonderful if gold could stay inside like this. Like, I'm all right with it not moving and not taking out 2008 so that it can stay inside with this gorgeous hammer. Like, pull back some and then go back up. That's what I would essentially like to see this week. So it can stay inside so we can have that 312 up to the top of that Broadening formation. Okay. If you will see here, I drew this for when it did its corrective mode. It did not make it to 50%. It made it to 38% before it came back up here. So I'm still hoping maybe it'll come back down to 23%. I'm going to take this off now. But that's what I was looking for with that corrective activity. You now have an inverted head and shoulders here on the week and on the day. This shoulder is valid above 1969. So it'd be great if it could retrace back to that and then come back out. Come back up. All right, the dollar. Ooh. The dollar is funny because I don't trade it, but man, did I call it. And I love that YouTube gives me that proof. But we have hit our monthly magnitude. So, and we have also hit the 50% level of this run up. So now it's kind of a decision moment. You know that usually you'll find buyers at 50% or even 61.618. So it can still come down more to put 0.618 and keep going back up if that's what it wants to do. But for me, if it passes this, it's going to just give all of this back. All right, we're halfway through through this entire run. We are halfway through it. So what are you going to do? You know, because this could almost be a cup and handle if they could save it here. But it's not looking too good. When you look at it on the daily, we're under the 200. That doesn't mean much because, of course, we can, you know, recover. But it's also in a sell model. You got your accumulation, boom, accumulation, boom, accumulation, boom, accumulation. Looking for the next boom. So, really interesting to see. I will be watching gold. I kind of do like where it is, but I do hope that it will stay that. Oh no, not gold. Dollar. I'm sorry. I do like where the dollar is, but trying to see what it will do from here. Okay, it's really interesting because it's also back into this. This was a big resistance, so interesting to see if it can hold this as support. All right, the NASDAQ. So on the monthly, you can see that we have hit the top of our Broadening formation, so we are at exhaustion. All right, can we still go some more? I mean, if it wants to go, 16,737 will be the buy side that I would think that it would head for. All right, but right now we are at the top of this Broadening formation. We've came here. Now are we going to broaden it more or are we going to retrace back? All right, considering where the VIX is at, we know that we can retrace because it's at exhaustion. A lot of things, I think exhaustion may be the name of the game right now, okay? Just like I said last week, we know that to the downside we have gaps to target, okay? So that's what we're going to be looking for. This is almost an evening star on the day, you guys. So, and we know that if this is an evening star on the daily, it may take 2 days. So we're looking like we might have a little bit of some corrective activity this week. And then, you know, they talk about the end of year Santa rally. We're not at the end of the year yet. So ideally it would be nice to correct for a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then that's the end of the year rally. By then we will be closer to the end of the year and we can really rally. So interesting to see what it does. But yeah, so that will be your targets. To the downside, we will target the gaps you have here, and we have our upside targets if it wants to keep pushing. The Dow, it kind of looks the same way, except it has not quite yet reached exhaustion. Now it has reached its monthly target. Okay, so that would have been your first target anyway. It wants to keep going. 356.84 is what we would be looking for. And then the top of the broadening formation is going to be 362.45. Okay, no actionable signal here on the week or on the day. And of course, if we have corrective activity, we're going to target the EMAs at least 350, and then we have gaps to the downside that we can target. IWM is going to be my top watch for next week. Okay, so if you see here on the weekly, I fibbed it. All right, so what I did, the same way I did with the dollar, we are at the 50% level on the that weekly flip. So remember what I was just saying, you know, we could continue to go to 0.68, 0.618. It can reject here. But what you have here on the week is a really nice hammer. All right, you got an inside week and you got a hammer. That's like one of my favorite, absolute favorite setups right there. Okay, if it can push past here, 181.92 is going to be your first target, and then 183.92 is going to be your second target. And then remember, we did trigger the month. Now, again, we only have 4 days of month left, so it might not get all the way up to 192, but it could at least possibly get up to this 184. All right, so we know that the monthly is still in force. You got an inside hammer week here, and not only that, you have a bull flag on the day. All right, we know that 180 is going to be a strong resistance. That 180 to 181 area is a place that is just, it's just a strong resistance. So if we can push through that, then we can start seeing those upper targets that I was mentioning before. And again, to the downside, you got gaps. These have gaps, so things we are mindful of. But IWM, top watch with that inside hammer week. And the Q, go back. The Qs, just like NASDAQ, we're at exhaustion. Okay, can we still go? Yes, we can. 409 is the buy side there, so that would be the ultimate target. The all-time highs is what the market looks like it wants to go for. Okay, as usual, we target the gaps to the downside if we have any. No actionable signal here. However, I do want to point out, it's not even a shooter. Okay, it just basically retraced about halfway. So there's no actionable signal or no sign of reversal unless this can break 386. All right, I'll get to that in a minute and show you what might actually be the catalyst for this to reverse, besides what I was just talking about with like the VIX and all of that. All right, looking at SPY again, we do still have room. All-time high for SPY is 459.44. Okay, it looks like SPY wants that. We're really less than $5 off of the all-time high. And also, if it wants to continue going, I'm sorry, that's not the all-time high, y'all. I'm tripping. The all-time high is 480. What it was the last year's high was 459. So that was the high that I thought it was, but the all-time high is 480. Now, I'm not thinking that we're going to, if anything, I think that may be the end of year rally if we can do that. Okay, look at this on the monthly. That is an insanely huge inverted head and shoulders, and the market held exactly where it needed to. I mean, this is almost a beautiful bounce right here and recovery. Okay, it has to lose 408 for this to be invalidated, and it's not. All right, on the week we actually have a PMG now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, just like before, you know, it's going to need a lot of strength to sell that off. You know, like and then it would have to sell all of this off and keep going to invalidate that. So we're still bullish. Again, if you want to target downside targets, we're going to look for these gaps to be filled at some point. And then you have an inside day here. So because we had a short week, remember, there was not much going on. We had a nice boom Monday, but then that was it. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday were all dojis. So, and this was a really tight doji. So maybe Monday will give us some volume and send us in a direction. We do need to test these EMAs at least. So 451-ish, and then breaking 446 can help us fill that gap there. Okay, Now, what I wanted to show y'all in terms of the Qs, because the Qs don't look quite like Apple, but we know Apple are the Qs, okay? So looking at Apple can still go to this 198.22 if it wants to have the strength. Now, it did do the evenings, the morning star monthly pattern did work out. It hit the target, and it came back in, and now it's just sitting there. So again, it can go to that 198 and possibly come on up to the 200 to 203 area. But we now have an evening star on the week. Okay, now remember, with evening star patterns, it may not happen the next week, it may take 2 weeks, but we do know that we have that on the week. You kind of have, yeah, you do have it here on the daily as well. So things we want to be aware of, you know. A lot of other things are exhausted. The Qs and NASDAQ are exhausted. We have an evening star pattern here. So are we going to retrace? It would need to break that 189.29, and then our first target is going to be 184.20. Okay. Remember I said that SPY has a PMG on the week. So does Apple. Okay. So again, you know, you need strong selling pressure to just take all of that out. I don't necessarily see that happening, but we do need some corrective activity. Things are exhausted, so just keep that in mind. Actually, I don't have it here, but if you look at this weekly broadening formation, yeah, it hit exhaustion. All right, so that's what we're going to be looking for, is Apple to possibly reverse. Okay, so this is the second top watch of the week, because we have IWM, but the IWM doesn't move like the Qs and SPY like Apple does. All right, and then you have Microsoft. It's not looking the same as Apple, but we know that Microsoft just recently made a new 52-week high, a new all-time high, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, brand new all-time high for Microsoft. So it's exhausted now. It's exhausted. It needs some retracement. Okay, so we've taken these folks out, and then now we have it. We hit our all-time high here, and now you have an evening star pattern, y'all, on the day. Remember I said it can take more than one time frame. So you got your evening star pattern, and then you got your inside doji. So what happens here? Do we break down? 375.08 will be your first. That's to be the level to break. Then we can get to the 373.19, and then the week open at 371.19. Now, Microsoft, it has gaps, but they're way down there. This reminds me a little bit of, what was it? The dollar, and how it did this. And it just went like almost straight up. Things can't go straight up forever, y'all. Like, it's not normal to draw lines that go straight up like that. And remember what happened with the dollar. It may take some time, but yeah. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got PMG'S here. So we want to be aware of the fact that we have those, aware that we need some correction. However, we can still move further up. All right, and I believe that was ones that I don't normally talk about, but I wanted to look at real quick and just point out were Tesla. Tesla is in this consolidation phase here, where it basically filled this gap and it ironed it out. So interesting to see what it does here, because it also has an inside week it's a doji, but it's almost a shooter. So want to see what Tesla does. It may do a 2-1, 2 down or up. So watch Tesla, and then NVDA is another one. When we get to the sectors in the weekly list, you will see that I have SMH and semis on the weekly list. We know NVIDIA just had earnings last week, and it was very lackluster compared to what people thought. Now, we thought, shoot, I had even drawn this fib extension because I thought it was going to go, and it may still go. But the way it's looking and the way it's set up is that we might come down, because what happened is we came and we took this out, and then we immediately rejected. The bulls, in my opinion, dropped the ball here. Okay, so what I would be looking for is the 3, 2 down. All right, so what we had is we had the people take out them. The bears stepped in and gave us an outside bar. So if it stays 3-1, I'm not interested in this at all. I want to see if the bears still have the strength to 3-2 down, at least to this 467, possibly to the weekly target of 449. Okay, you got your head building here, so we can even have a little bit of a shoulder before we drop a little bit more. All right, so that's what I wanted to point out about NVIDIA. Let us go to the sectors. XLY, your communication sectors. You don't have an actionable signal here. We do still have room on the monthly to 175.30 is going to be the magnitude there. XLK technology, of course, took out this, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, that was their all-time high too. So new all-time high, like Microsoft. And again, it could still keep going, but anticipating some pullback first, at least. XLF, I mean, look at this on the daily. This needs to come down like just halfway because there's not one red bar in sight. So at least to 34.92. I doubt it's going to come for the gap, but if it does, that would be the stuff that we would start targeting to the downside. But strength to the upside here, almost at monthly magnitude, 35.47 and then 35.71 for XLF. XLC hit the top of our Barton formation, so most likely we are exhausted here. Yes, we still do have room, but again, we're at an exhaustion point, so you want to see some type of correction before we continue. And you also have a PMG here on the weekly, I want to be aware of. XLE is one of my favorite sectors for this week. Want to see what oil is going to do. All right, we have our consolidation here right under the 200. Now it keeps rejecting it, as you can see, so it looks like the bears step back in every time here at the 200. So wondering if they're going to keep doing that. We do have a shooter here on the daily. On the weekly, though, we have an inside week. This is almost a not the gravestone. What's the other one? I guess it's Morningstar doji, but it's a red. All right, so really though, if it breaks this 85.68, it will turn the month green, flip the month green, and it may flip up and start pushing to the upside. Otherwise, this shooter here, almost shooter, could bring it back down to the 82.52, and then that will be the level to break to the downside if it's going to keep going. We do have a kind of a head and shoulders here, so it's definitely looking bearish. It's not looking like, you know, the bulls are really going to step in until we can break above this 200 here and stay above. XLU looking pretty decent. I like XLU because we still have monthly magnitude, so 65.58. And then here, although this slightly took out these folks, I want to see if this can continue. This is almost an inside week of the hammer. So it's good enough for me to see if it can, if the bulls got the strength to continue and at least come up here and test this 200. All right. XLI, again, we still have magnitude left on the monthly. 109.20 is what we would be looking for. No actionable signal here or on the daily, but this is almost like a flag. It's almost like a flag, but it hasn't had enough corrective activity to really call it that. Again, it's just going up. All right, looking at this, y'all, kind of the bear in me wants a red week. Like, just give me plug my computer and give me some corrective activity so I can get in on the next leg up. All right, XLB is still inside month, so triggering the upside is 131.97, but of course at the end of the month like this, we would rather it stay inside, right? So hopefully, because of this move, now that we've reached 200, we'll correct back a little bit so that this can stay inside month and it can really boom next month. It's looking good though. As you can see, we blew past the fib that I had here. So we can expect it to keep going. Again, we are right at our 200 here. So interesting to see what it does from here. XLP, another one. The hammer month is in force. The magnitude on that is about 73. First stop would be about 71.42. I like this inside week here because we had a move, and then we had our inside week is almost a resting period, although really it gave it up and then gave it back. So there's strength there. There are great, this gap here to the downside, 69.68 would be my first downside target, but it looks like we're trying to move up at least to this 200, 71.84. XLRE also magnitude left, 37.29. This is the better looking flag that it has going on the daily. No actionable signal on the weekly, here on the weekly. But yeah, it still has room. It's not quite reached complete exhaustion. XLB, a lot of these look the same, where it's just zoomed past the 200 and left it in the dust without any true corrective activity for it. It may, did it feel this? It may be trying to go for this gap here at the 81.58 and filling that. So that would be my first target. And then of course the TTL, these folks out, and then we have gaps here to the downside, but my first stop would be this 200 here, the 79.73. XOP is hanging out around the 200 on the daily. No real actionable signal here, but this is almost a hammer. It's just red. But what I do like about XOP is that if this hammer goes in force and it can break above 141.51, we have possible PMG here. All right, so if oil and gas really wants to boom and it wants to two down, two up, we hit the first target, we flip the month green, we flip the quarter green, we might try to do that before the end of the year. So that's what I just want y'all to be aware of, that possible setup with XOP. XRT also still have magnitude left here on the monthly. Why am I? Oh, because it's all the way up there. Yeah, it's basically accumulated down here and could really move. But that probably wouldn't happen until next year. We're so close to the end of the year now. It's like, oh, maybe not. You do have a flag here on the daily and an inside week for retail. Remember, we are coming up on the holiday season, so retailers should actually start doing better. They've corrected like for the past few months. And so now it may be their time. XRT, so retail and also jets, airlines, because not only is BA trying to catch a bid, but it's that holiday travel season. All right, so jets did already somewhat take out last month's high, but it came back in. All right, so interesting to see if it can go and completely, well, retrace up here to this 1860 like we were talking about before. Somewhat have a bull flag here, but we'll just have to see. All right, it needs to at least come up to this 200 to test that, and then we'll talk about being bullish on it. But right now, we're at least looking for it to correct this move, this down move that it made. Lithium, Huchel. We are at exhaustion basically. So we had hit exhaustion and then we kind of retraced a little bit. I do not see this going like outside month or anything like that. In fact, it looks like it's accumulating down here. So you kind of really have to see what it does. This thing gaps like crazy though. So I'm not gonna lie, I'll be a little afraid to play this because of all these gaps. It reminds me of China right now. Speaking of China, with the gaps, see? You have to be on the right side of the trade because, you know, if you buy puts here thinking it's going to reject here and then it gaps up on you in the morning, like you're clapped. But then look, it gapped back down like lower than this the next day. So if you're going to play like China and lithium, give it time, y'all, because you can know where it's going to go and be on the right side of the trade, but you really need to give it time so that if it does that, it doesn't clap you. All you have to do is wait for it to do that. Because if you think about it, if you have time and it does this, by the time it does this, you're going to be in profit. Like, yeah, it may clap you a little bit, but you'll get it back because it went below your entry price. You got in right here, right? That clap you a little bit and then you come back and it's down here. All right, depending on how much time you have in your theta, your Greeks, that's why you need to pay attention to those. All right. IYT, again, like Jets, it is recovering, had our corrective activity, and the monthly is enforced with a magnitude of 251.95, so that's what we're going to be looking for. May not get there before the end of the month, but as you can see, oh, this also has a PMG. It's a lot of PMGs. I think I'm going to title this video, the name of the game is PMG. Do we shoot? And so if this way, we would be PMG. Most of them, I think, are PMG down, except it was the XOP. They had a PMG up. All right. And then SMH has reached exhaustion. All right. Viddy didn't do all that great. We got a shooter here and an evening star at a new all-time high at exhaustion. Update this a little bit, because you know, got a new one there. New all-time high, new exhaustion, shooter on there. So the very least, if we can break this 160, 129, we can correct to halfway there, 159.06. Come here to this 155.28, and then maybe even touch an EMA. Maybe. We do have gaps though. So 157.06 will be the first gap fill. Sorry, I got a notification. That'll be the first gap fill, and then we will be looking for some EMA tests. All right, so that's what we have going on with that. We are in dead smack in the middle of our 2-week setups, so nothing. We're not gonna go over those right now. I did want to talk about Walmart is still in force on the outside month, so if it's going to continue 151.59. Now, granted, again, it had this really long 3, 2 up, but it was weak, and it's in between these two EMAs. So ideally, you really want to see it break below about 154 to continue to that 151. All right, it's hanging out here around this 200, so it's trying to catch that bid. We just have to kind of watch and see. So we did sectors. I think that is it, except for the weekly list. We got COP. So COP was on the list last week for this morning star, but again, remember, when we have morning stars, sometimes it takes an extra week. So I am looking to see if COP is going to do this 212 up. So it needs to break this 117 to go to the upside, and if it does, I believe, not quite a PMG, but we do have a gap to target up here at the 124.05. If it does want to move. Okay, we already talked about Apple and the possible evening star on the week. We also talked about NVDA and how it turned. We got that 3, so looking for the 3-2 down. The sectors, I told you I liked XLE, XLP, SMH, XLU. I believe I told you I liked XLU, right? Yep, because I was talking about how I wish it stayed inside, but it's close enough. And then XLP with the inside week. You got PG, which are almost hammer week. Last but not least, we talked about IWM and Tesla with the inside weeks. All right, IWM has your hammer, Tesla has your shooter. QCOM, again, with the chips. If, you know, NVIDIA is a little too expensive for you, you can try QCOM. It has an inside week. I don't necessarily like the candle, which is why this is further to the bottom. But this could possibly be a cheaper way to play the SMH plays and see what they do. Nike, I'm really curious to see what Nike does. I like where it's at because it's right here at the 200. So if it wants to push above and trigger this inside week to the upside, then we can move. This looks like an inverted head and shoulders. So as long as it holds support there about 103.86, then it should be good. I also like how it's in between these two EMAs and kind of fighting. So a push above is what I would like to see. Even if it pushes above and comes back to retest, I still want to see it push above and away from these EMAs. They're all turning to the upside. So it's looking bullish for me. Last but not least, you got TTD with this huge gap right here that just possibly needs to be ironed out. Okay, so you have the down move, you have your resting period, you got another resting period, and a double inside week. All right, we know that this isn't an actionable signal, you guys. It's not. So when you say, okay, well, how will you do that for the week? You break it down to the day. All right, you find your actionable signal in the day. Right now, you have somewhat of a flag. This looks like a bear flag. You just have to see, find you a 212, and if the 212 up triggers the inside week up, then there you go, and you have got a huge gap here to target. So first, of course, we're going to target this 7150, which is the 200. We know that's going to be a strong resistance, and then if it can continue, that's 7660. All right, so that is all I have for y'all today. I hope you guys have a happy trading week, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.